once again. I'm Dave Gibson from Third Wednesday Magazine. On this occasion, we have reading for us Rebecca Ruth Gould, a writer and translator based in the United Kingdom. Her most recent book is a collection of short stories, Strangers' Stories. Her translations from Persian have received PEN Presents and PEN Translates Awards from English PEN. She is currently working on a book entitled Doves Born from Light, Writers' Homes and Readers' Lives, and an oral history of the Gaza genocide with the Lighthouse Collective. She writes and edits the Textual Materialist newsletter and is Distinguished Professor of Comparative Poetics and Global Politics at the School of Oriental and African Studies, the University of London. And now here is Rebecca Ruth Gould.
Thank you so much for the invitation to read. I'm going to be reading from my new short story collection, Strangers. It was published last year by Serving House Books, and it's available around the world, anywhere in the US, online or in some bookstores. The stories are a series of connected it's 10 connected stories. Most of them, though not all, have the same protagonist, but in very different locations. Damascus, places where I myself have lived, Damascus, Tbilisi, Tehran, Dubai, New York. This one that I'm reading right now was set in Bristol, the city where actually I do live now, and set during the time of COVID. And the title, maybe a word with which you're not familiar, particularly familiar. It's a type of Iranian cuisine. It's called tahdig. That means it's often translated as crushed rice. So it's just a type of food. And I think, like many of the stories in the book, it looks at migration and about the kind of strangeness of between two people who know each other well, but who also are mysteries to each other. And it's also about kind of food as a language of love and a language of care when language itself fails. So I won't be reading the whole story, but I'll be reading from parts of it. In the first week of the UK's nationwide COVID lockdown, the immigrant who had recently been part of her life stopped coming to visit her. Instead of meeting in her apartment as they had done every day before the lockdown, they met daily in Castle Park, a few minutes' walk from her home. They had first met in the park 6 months earlier at a bench in the castle's shadow, so it made sense that when they entered lockdown, their relationship resumed in this same location. 1,000 years earlier, when William the Conqueror and his armies had sped through these realms, leveling everything to the ground, William the Conqueror built Bristol Castle to honor his conquest and secure his domain. The castle was constructed from stones that had been brought all the way from Normandy. Now the medieval castle, having been attacked during the Blitz of 1940 and reduced to ruins, stood at the center of Bristol's largest and most beautiful park overlooking the Avon River. They sat together, talking on the bench overlooking the river. It wasn't the same as being together in her home. Every day he brought her freshly cooked bread from his kitchen. Every loaf seemed to come in different seeds and flavors: pumpkin seeds, flax seeds, turmeric, saffron. "What would you like for me to make for you this time?" he would ask every morning on the phone. "Surprise me," she replied. She loved his questions even more than the food. "You need to eat well," he whispered back into the receiver. "Your stomach needs my healthy food." "I know," she said. "I miss your bread." Although the pandemic had introduced many tragedies into the world, it improved the way they spoke to each other. Anxiety and irritation yielded to a quiet calm. The fact that the world seemed to be ending and there was nothing that they could do to stop it made them yield to each other, melting in each other's arms. Their arguments faded and were replaced by a fragile equilibrium. The difficulty of seeing each other during the lockdown made them cherish each moment they spent together. Although they came from different countries, the deepest difference between them had to do with their relationship to food. He disliked eating. Food for oneself was boring, he thought. She hated to cook but loved eating whenever he made for her the softness of melted gorgonzola mixed with the scent of garlic on his homemade bread. When she ate the leftovers of a pot of rice or a cheesy garlic golden pizza he had cooked for her late at night, her dreams that night would match the flavors he had kneaded into the dough. The scent of the vanilla bean wafted through her imagination. I think I might have skipped it. Although he loved to cook for her, he could not stand to eat with her. He hated food and preferred to watch her take pleasure in what he crafted with his hands. It was during one of those moments when she was greedily devouring a slice of pesto pizza, one of his many specialties, that he told her for the first time that he loved her. Her fingers pressed into the nape of his neck. They kissed, and then he pulled away, as if suddenly worried that someone might see them. By the third week of the lockdown, she wanted more intimacy. She couldn't stand their meetings in the park anymore. She wanted to be alone with him, in her bedroom. It was time to end their isolation from each other, time for him to return to her home. Can we please stop this charade? She asked at the end of one of the meetings in the park. Can I persuade you to visit me at home? I love your food, but I want you in my home. I'm tired of seeing you only in these public spaces. Sure, he said, and on one condition. He smiled. I will cook again in your home if you prepare the ingredients for me. I want to make you crispy, crunchy, golden tahdig. Although she had read about tahdig before, she feigned ignorance so that she could enjoy imagining him cooking it just for her. Tahdig, he explained, is a crunchy coating that scrapes the bottom of the pot with its juicy oils and its garlicky scents. It is rice cooked to a crisp and removed from the fires just before it burns. It has to be eaten immediately so that you can savor the crunch. It is the best food in the world, the yummiest dish in all of Iran, and it is what I miss most about my homeland. He fell silent, consumed by memories of a distant place. I'll make tahdig for you, he said to her again. But first, I need to develop a strategy for making this Iranian dish in a foreign land. It won't taste quite the same, but I hope it will be almost as good. I want to make your tahdig taste just as if it had been made in Iran. He then looked at her with a knowing smile. And you need to clean up the kitchen. And skipping a little bit of conversation, going to the next move of the story. Finally, after 3 months of time cooking tahdig covertly in her kitchen, the end of lockdown was announced. Individuals who belonged to separate households were permitted to visit each other again, though they were advised to wear masks everywhere they went. Now, finally, he could cook for her publicly without concealing his entrances and exits from the world. On the morning of his first visit, after the relaxing of government restrictions, she set out the ingredients on the kitchen counter. She had dreamed the night before of the food he would make for her. In the end, she decided on one of his favorites, polo Istanbuli, rice Istanbul style, with green beans, red onions, and a thick garlicky tomato puree that turned the pearly white rice the color of a crimson sunset. She dreamed of the tahdig that would emerge from this bloody concoction. Just as he had always done, his insistence that the rice be freshly soaked the night before. Before the lockdown, she had often cheated and only started soaking the rice a few hours before his arrival. She always kept such lapses secret from him. This morning, however, she followed his instructions as if they were a religious dictum. Then she sat down on her bed, her coffee mug filled to the brim, and awaited his arrival. A week after the lockdown had come to an end, he arrived looking downcast. She knew better than to ask what was wrong. Too often in the past, such questions had steered their conversations in dark directions that neither of them wanted to go in. She sat down on her unmade bed, the sheets piled on top of each other, and watched him get to work. What would you like for dinner? He asked. She smiled and glanced at a bowl of washed rice. I think you already know without my asking. Tahdig? He asked. She nodded. It was like they had been exchanging words of love. He took off his shirt and flexed his muscles as if he were preparing to lift weights. He picked up the bowl with the soaked rice and started washing it vigorously. He drained the water and washed the grains again. Then he did it a second time to remove all the starch. Does it need to be washed so many times? She asked. Yes, he said. The tahdig has to shine. He chopped the garlic and onions and sauteed them together in a thick layer of extra virgin olive oil. Then he sprinkled the turmeric powder she kept on the countertop just for him. Don't onions make you cry? She asked, the brims of her eyelids growing itchy with tears. A little bit, he said, but it doesn't matter. It's a price I'm willing to pay to cook for the one I love. It seemed strange to her that anyone could express their love in the way he did, by cooking. She almost couldn't believe it was love until she looked at him, at his back hunched over the saucepan, and at his hands stirring vigorously. As he cooked, she dwelled on how the lockdown had been punctured by so much suffering. The death toll was too high to count. She wanted to tell him about a scene she had witnessed a month after their forced separation. A woman was overtaken by coughing in the grocery store, and the ambulance arrived to take her away. But she knew better than to interrupt his cooking. She watched him silently, stirring the onions as they caramelized, then pouring the onion mix along with the golden turmeric and savory garlic into the rice, with the green beans and the tomato puree. Will you eat with me? She asked, knowing the answer in advance. I already ate, he said. I'm making this for you. Cooking is an expression of my love. A lover should not eat the food made with his own hands. The sun shot through the window and cast its rays on his muscular back, bent over the stove, stirring the sauce that was to accompany the tahdig. She reflected on how little she knew about his love. Won't we regret someday leaving so much unsaid, she wondered. What will happen when we stop speaking the truth to each other? What will we do then? All that she knew for certain was that she loved him. She wanted to build her life with him. He did not seem to know what he wanted from life other than to cook tahdig for her. Savoring every bite, she thought of how pampered she had been by his cooking throughout the lockdown. Crunchy, yet not too hard in the teeth, flavored with garlic, salt, and turmeric along the edges. He could tell it was a success and was proud of being able to give her pleasure in this way by making rice that melted in her mouth. She wanted to ask the questions that had been tormenting her for months. What were his plans and intentions? What was the future of their relationship? What was his future on this earth? But she knew he preferred to watch her eat. She could not bear to spoil the gentle smile on his face. She could not bear the peace he had attained by making her tahdig was as fragile as a rainbow after a drought and as beautiful when refracted through the prism of his eyes. So she let the questions subside. Surely there would be another occasion to ask them. And if you want to find out what happens in the rest of the story, because that's only a small part of it, buy the book. And yeah, all of the stories have that common theme of migration, language, and the tension and love between strangers. Thank you very much.